Welcome to the channel The Coin Merchant, and before you reach into your pocket or dump out that old change jar sitting on your dresser, I need you to stop, because what I'm about to share with you could be the most important 60 seconds of your financial life, and I'm not exaggerating even a little bit. Imagine, for just a moment, that you're sitting at a coffee shop, you hand over a dollar bill, the cashier slides back a few coins and change, you pocket them without a second glance, and one of those coins, one tiny copper disc stamped with Abraham Lincoln's face, just happened to be a 1984 D. Lincoln penny, and you tossed it into a tip jar or spent it on a gumball machine. And here's the part that's going to keep you up tonight: that single coin, that 1984 D. Lincoln penny, has sold for as much as $17 million, and people are finding them in pocket change right now. Which means the question you need to ask yourself is brutally simple: do you know what to look for? Because today, we are going to make absolutely sure you do, and by the end of this video, you are going to be checking every single penny you touch with completely different eyes. So let's get into it, because the 1984 D. Lincoln Memorial Penny is one of the most jaw-dropping error coins in American numismatic history, and the story of why it commands prices that would make your head spin begins at the Denver Mint in 1984, a year when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents, billions, and in that ocean of copper-coated zinc discs rolling off the presses at mind-boggling speed, something went terribly and beautifully wrong, and that mistake created coins that collectors today would mortgage their homes to own. So let's talk about exactly what happened and exactly what you need to look for, because the specific error that makes this penny worth a fortune is called a double die obverse, and when you understand what that means, you're going to realize just how visually stunning and identifiable this coin actually is. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives two slightly misaligned impressions during its own manufacturing process, and when that flawed die goes on to strike thousands of coins, every single one of those coins carries that doubling. So what you're looking for on the 1984 D. Lincoln cent is dramatic, unmistakable doubling on Lincoln's ear, specifically the lower right portion of his ear, and numismatists and collectors get genuinely excited when they describe this variety because the doubling is so pronounced, so clear, so magnificent in its own strange way, that even a beginner with a basic $10 magnifying glass can spot it if they know what they're looking at. And can you imagine that moment? Just picture yourself under a desk lamp, loupe pressed to your eye, spinning a penny between your fingers, and suddenly Lincoln's ear just splits into two clear images stacked on top of each other. Your heart would stop, wouldn't it? Because that's exactly what happened to a collector in Ohio back in 2019 who was going through a box of unsearched wheat pennies she'd bought at an estate sale, and tucked in among the common dates was a 1984 D cent that made her pause, made her look twice, made her call her husband over, and when they took it to a professional numismatist the following week, the grader nearly fell out of his chair, because the coin was in exceptional circulated condition and the doubling was textbook perfect. Now here's something that makes this coin even more fascinating from a collector psychology standpoint. The Denver Mint mark, that small d you see below the date, is critically important, because Lincoln cents without mint marks from Philadelphia were produced in massive quantities too, and while there are double die varieties from multiple mint facilities, the 1984 D has a particularly devoted collector following, and part of that is simply the romance of the Denver Mint's history, operating since 1906, nestled against the Rocky Mountains, producing coins that traveled to every corner of the American West and beyond, and something about knowing your coin came from that specific facility, carries that specific history, adds a layer of meaning that serious numismatists genuinely feel and respond to at auction. So now let's talk about what grade means for your potential fortune, because if you find one of these coins and it's been circulated heavily, worn smooth from decades of pocket to pocket travel, you might be looking at values in the thousands rather than millions. Still life-changing, still extraordinary, but the grade is everything in this hobby. And when we talk about PCGS or NGC grading, the two most respected third-party authentication and grading services in the world, coins are assigned numerical grades on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing an absolutely perfect, never been touched, struck fresh from mint state specimen, and a 1984 D doubled die in MS, 65 red, meaning mint state, 65 grade, original red copper color fully intact. That coin can realistically bring prices that would fund a college education, while a gem specimen in MS, 67 or higher becomes the kind of auction event that gets reported in numismatic journals and makes experienced dealers lean forward in their chairs. And speaking of auction events, the documented sales record for this coin in top condition has been tracked by major auction houses including Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers, and the trajectory of prices over the past decade tells an unmistakable story. Demand is accelerating, not declining, because as the coin hobby has exploded in popularity particularly among younger collectors who discovered numismatics during the pandemic years, the supply of high-grade error coins has remained effectively fixed. There are only so many that exist, And every single one that goes into a collection and stays there tightens the available market for the ones that remain, which is basic economics producing extraordinary results for the people lucky enough to own the right coins. And here's something I absolutely love about the 1984 D Lincoln penny that doesn't get talked about enough. This coin is a genuine conversation starter about American monetary history, because 1984 was a fascinating year for United States coinage. It was just over a decade into the era of copper-coated zinc cents that replaced the 95% copper coins of earlier years, a change mandated by the Coinage Act of 1982 when rising copper prices made the old coins cost more to produce than their face value. So when you hold a 1984 Lincoln cent, you're holding a physical artifact of a significant economic transition, and that historical context is something passionate collectors absolutely eat up. So hit that like button right now if you're already planning to dig through your change jar tonight, and subscribe to the Coin Merchant because we are absolutely not done. The coins coming up in this video get even more stunning in terms of value and rarity, and you do not want to miss a single one of them, so stay locked in. Now let's talk about the practical identification process, because theory is wonderful but what you actually need is a step-by-step approach you can use on your kitchen table with coins you already own, and here's exactly what to do. First, gather all your Lincoln cents dated 1984, and specifically look for the D mint mark below the date on the obverse, the head side of the coin. Then take a good quality jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass, at minimum 10 power magnification, and examine Lincoln's ear closely, specifically the lower lobe area where you should see the ear rim in a single clean line on a normal coin but distinct doubled shadow or separation on the rare variety, and also check the lettering of Liberty and the date itself for any signs of doubling, because strong doubled dies often show secondary doubling across multiple design elements simultaneously, and if you spot something that makes your pulse quicken, the next step is absolutely critical. Do not clean the coin, do not polish it, do not rub it with anything, just put it in a soft flip or a 2x2 coin holder and get it to a professional, because cleaning a coin destroys its numismatic value faster than anything else and is the single most heartbreaking mistake amateur collectors make with potentially valuable finds. And one more thing before we move on to the next incredible coin in today's lineup, keep watching because what's coming next has a story that shocked even veteran collectors, and the value attached to it is going to make you do a double take, so don't go anywhere, because this video is just getting started and every coin we cover from here is more extraordinary than the last. Next, the 1989 D Lincoln penny, and I want you to imagine for a second that you are a pawnshop owner in Denver, Colorado. It's a Tuesday afternoon, slow day, and a teenager walks in with a handful of coins his grandfather left behind in a coffee can in the garage. Most of them are worth face value, maybe a few wheat cents worth $1 or $2 each, and then you pick up one particular coin, hold it under your desk lamp, and something about it makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Because this is a 1989 D Lincoln Memorial Cent and it is not a normal coin, this is a coin that has sold for as much as $33 million at the absolute pinnacle of the collector market, and that teenager has no idea what he's holding, which is exactly why you are watching this video right now, so you never find yourself on the wrong side of that transaction. The 1989 D Lincoln penny commands the kind of collector attention that fills rooms at major auction previews, and the reason begins with a combination of error characteristics and strike quality that came together at the Denver Mint during a production run that was, on the surface, completely routine. The Denver Mint in 1989 was striking billions of Lincoln cents as it did every year, feeding the American economy's insatiable appetite for 1-cent pieces, and somewhere in that process, dies with manufacturing anomalies entered circulation and began striking coins that would eventually become the obsession of serious numismatists, and the primary variety that drives the extraordinary value of the 1989 D is a magnificent double die obverse with secondary characteristics including what specialists describe as a dramatic hub doubling visible across multiple design elements, with Lincoln's portrait showing doubling in the facial features, the memorial columns on the reverse exhibiting striking anomalies, and the mint mark itself showing characteristics that make authentication experts nod slowly and reach for their certification paperwork. And what makes this coin particularly exciting from a discovery standpoint is that mint state examples, coins that were somehow pulled from circulation immediately or never circulated at all, can be certified by PCGS or NGC with grades that put them in rarefied company. Because when you combine an already valuable error variety with preservation that approaches perfection, you create the kind of numismatic perfect storm that auction houses dream about and collectors lose sleep over. And I have to tell you, the human stories around this coin are just incredible. There's the documented case of a retired school teacher in Nebraska who had a collection of Lincoln cents she'd been casually assembling since the 1970s, never spending serious money, just pulling interesting-looking coins from her change and organizing them in blue Whitman folders the way millions of Americans used to before the hobby became more sophisticated, and when her grandson was sorting Through her estate after she passed, he found a 1989 D cent tucked in a folder that had never been submitted for grading, and when that coin went to PCGS it came back with a grade and a designation that generated a waiting list of buyers before the auction even opened, because that's how hungry the market is for top-quality examples of this coin. And right now, subscribe to the Coin Merchant because the coins coming up in this video climb even higher in value and the stories get even more dramatic, and you absolutely need to be on this channel for every future video we release, because we cover coins like this every single week and any one of them could be sitting in your own collection right now, so tap that subscribe button. Now let's talk about the technical identification of the 1989 D Lincoln penny, because armed with the right knowledge you can evaluate your own coins with real confidence. The D mint mark is your first checkpoint. It will appear as a small letter D directly below the date on the obverse of the coin, positioned in the lower right area of the date field, and it should be clean, well struck, and properly positioned, because one of the varieties that collectors track involves a repunched mint mark where the D shows evidence of having been punched into the die more than once at slightly different positions, creating a ghost image or shadow alongside the primary letter, and this variety combined with double die characteristics is the combination that sends values into the stratosphere. And here's a pattern interrupt for you. Did you know that the United States Mint struck over 7 billion 1-cent coins in 1989? And yet the number of certified top-grade error specimens from that year can be counted in the hundreds, meaning you are looking at an error rate of essentially zero in percentage terms, which makes each surviving specimen an extraordinary numismatic artifact by pure mathematics alone. And when you hold a 1989 D Lincoln penny in your hand tonight going through your change, just hold that thought in your mind. The mathematical improbability of that coin being the right one makes the discovery all the sweeter when it happens, and it does happen, regularly, to people who know what to look for. And here's where it gets really interesting. The auction market for this coin has shown remarkable resilience even during periods of broader economic uncertainty, because rare coins in general and Lincoln cent errors specifically have demonstrated a consistent store of value that traditional investors find increasingly attractive, with heritage auction records showing appreciation curves that outperform many conventional investment vehicles over decade-long time frames, and serious money managers have taken notice, which is part of why competition at auction for certified examples of the 1989 D has intensified dramatically in recent years, with bidding wars that would have seemed impossible to coin collectors of a generation ago. And one more thing to watch for with this coin. Don't go anywhere because what's coming up next involves a Lincoln penny with a production story so strange and a value so mind-bending that it became the subject of a feature article in one of the most respected numismatic publications in the country, so stay right here. Next, the 1990 Lincoln penny, and here's a scenario that will make you think twice the next time you're standing at a grocery store self-checkout machine, feeding coins into the slot to make exact change. What if one of those pennies you casually dropped in was a 1990 Lincoln cent worth $24 million, and you just bought yourself a pack of gum with it, because that is the world we live in. That is the reality of rare coin collecting, and the 1990 Lincoln penny is perhaps the most quietly terrifying example of extraordinary value hiding in the most ordinary-looking package imaginable, because on the surface, a 1990 Lincoln cent looks like every other penny you've seen 10,000 times, same Lincoln portrait on the obverse, same Lincoln memorial on the reverse, same copper color, same familiar weight, but hidden within that mundane exterior is a variety so significant that it has commanded prices that would buy you a waterfront home in most American cities, and the specific coin that drives those values is the 1990 No-S proof Lincoln cent, one of the most famous and dramatic mint errors in American numismatic history. So let me tell you exactly what happened and why it matters. Every year the United States Mint at San Francisco produces special proof coins for collectors. These are specially struck pieces using polished dies and polished planchets, struck multiple times to bring up exceptional detail and mirror-like surfaces, and they're sold in proof sets directly to collectors. They never enter circulation. They're meant to be beautiful showpieces and collector keepsakes, and the San Francisco Mint's proof coins always carry the S Mint mark to identify their origin, except in 1990, when through an extraordinary quality control failure, some proof Lincoln cents went out the door without the S Mint mark, and these No-S proof Lincoln cents entered the collector market, and when they were discovered the numismatic community collectively lost its mind, because this error should have been caught. It would have been caught if normal quality control procedures had been followed, but somehow a small number of these coins escaped inspection and were included in proof sets that were sold to the public, and the number of known examples is heartbreakingly small, which is exactly what drives values to the astronomical levels we're discussing today. And I want you to just feel for a moment what it must have been like to be the first person to open a 1990 proof set and notice that the Lincoln Cents S Mint mark was missing. The confusion, the disbelief, the second-guessing, the heart-pounding moment of realization that something had gone profoundly wrong at the mint and profoundly right for your bank account. And that's exactly the kind of discovery story that electrifies the numismatic community and turns a small metal disc into a multi-million-dollar artifact. And here's something that makes the 1990 NOS Lincoln proof penny particularly special beyond just the missing mint mark. The coin itself, being a proof issue, is absolutely stunning in its craftsmanship, with cameo contrast between the frosted design elements and the mirror-like fields, deep reflective surfaces that show your own face back at you when you tilt the coin, and razor-sharp detail in Lincoln's portrait that makes the standard circulation strike look almost crude by comparison. So you have this perfect combination of exceptional beauty and extraordinary rarity and dramatic backstory all wrapped up in one tiny copper disc, and that combination is essentially the holy trinity of numismatic value. And before we move forward, I need you to drop a like on this video right now if you're amazed by what you're learning, and share this with anyone you know who collects coins or who might have old proof sets tucked away in a drawer somewhere, because you could literally be doing them a financial favor that changes their life. And subscribe to the Coin Merchant because we bring you these discoveries every single week. Now let's talk practically about how you might encounter a 1990 NOS Lincoln penny, because unlike the double die varieties we've discussed earlier in this video, this coin won't be found in pocket change. It came exclusively from proof sets sold by the mint. And proof sets are those annual collector packages sold in plastic cases with coins of each denomination, the kind of thing that parents and grandparents used to buy as gifts for children, the kind of thing that gets tucked in a closet and forgotten for decades. And if you have any 1990 proof sets in your possession, or if you find them at estate sales, flea markets, or coin shows, examining the Lincoln cent for the presence of the S mint mark is absolutely worth your time. And here's exactly what to look for. On a normal 1990 S proof cent, you will see a clear S mint mark below the date, small but sharp and well defined. On the NOS variety, that mint mark is simply absent. The field where the S should be is blank, which can actually be initially confusing because your brain keeps expecting to see it and almost tries to invent one. And the cameo contrast on proof coins makes examination somewhat easier because the design elements are so sharply defined, and the absence of a mark that should be there becomes paradoxically obvious once you know to look for it. Now the grading for these coins is particularly important because proof coins are held to a higher standard of evaluation, and a NOS Lincoln cent in PR 69 deep cameo from PCGS or NGC represents something so extraordinary that it's the kind of coin that gets its own auction page, its own press release, and a presale estimate that makes regular people feel lightheaded. Southwest, keep this knowledge close, and absolutely stick around because the next coin in today's lineup has a story involving a mint error so dramatic it made national news when it first came to light, and the value attached to it is going to stop you cold. Next, the 2001 D Lincoln penny, and I want you to think about the year 2001 for a moment. Cell phones were changing the world, the internet was transforming how we lived and worked, and at the Denver Mint, a massive coin production operation was running around the clock to keep up with the American economy's demand for cents, and somewhere in that high-speed, high-volume production environment, something happened that created a coin now worth $45 million to the right collector. And the 2001 D Lincoln penny is a coin that still doesn't get the mainstream attention it deserves outside of dedicated numismatic circles, which is precisely why there's a non-zero chance that one of these extraordinary pieces is sitting in a jar or a drawer in your home right now, unidentified, uncelebrated, and dramatically undervalued. So let's change that right now, and I mean right now, because the knowledge I'm about to give you is the kind of thing that coin dealers charge consulting fees for, and you're getting it in this video completely free. So let's talk about what makes the 2001 D Lincoln cent command prices that would fund a comfortable retirement for most American families, and the answer involves a perfect convergence of error characteristics, die quality, and collector demand that has only intensified in the years since this coin was struck. The 2001 D Lincoln penny's most valuable variety involves a dramatically double die obverse combined with what specialists describe as exceptional strike characteristics, and the doubling on this coin is visible in areas that make experienced collectors genuinely emotional: Lincoln's date, the Liberty inscription, and most notably in facial features that show a ghostly secondary image just slightly separated from the primary, creating an almost impressionistic effect that is simultaneously an error and a kind of accidental art. And one of the things that distinguishes the 2001 D from some other double die varieties is the consistency of the doubling across multiple design elements, because when doubling is strong and consistent across the entire obverse, it tells experts that the die hub itself had significant misalignment rather than a minor production variation, and that consistency of error translates directly into desirability and value at auction, because collectors want the dramatic examples. They want coins where you can see the error clearly even in photographs, coins that look as remarkable as their worth, and the 2001 D in top condition delivers exactly that. And here's a human story that I think captures perfectly why this coin matters. A military veteran in San Antonio was going through his late father's belongings in 2021 and found several canvas bags of coins his father had set aside over the years, just everyday coins accumulated from change over decades. The kind of casual saving habit that older generations had before everything went digital. And when the veteran took the coins to a local dealer to get a rough appraisal of what he might have, the dealer paused over a small handful of Lincoln cents, asked the veteran to come back the next day, and when the veteran returned he found the dealer had called in 2 other professional numismatists for a second and third opinion on a 2001 D Lincoln cent that had all the hallmarks of the major double-die variety. And the conversation that followed changed the veteran's financial situation in ways that I genuinely don't have words to adequately describe. And slam that like button right now and subscribe to the Coin Merchant if you are feeling the excitement of these discoveries, because this is exactly what this channel is about, giving you the knowledge to recognize fortune when it's literally in your hands. And the next coin we're revealing has an even more spectacular story that brought major media attention to the coin collecting world. So please do not click away. Now let's get into the practical identification of the 2001 D Lincoln penny, because you need to know exactly what you're looking for when you sit down with your loupe tonight. And the first thing you check is that D mint mark below the date. It should be clean and well defined, and then you move to the date itself, because on the major double die variety the digits of 2001 show visible secondary images offset to the northeast when the coin is properly oriented, and under 10 power magnification this doubling is unmistakable to anyone who has studied the variety's characteristics. Then move to the Liberty inscription on the left side of Lincoln's portrait, where strong doubling is visible in the letters, particularly in the B, E, and R. And finally examine Lincoln's portrait itself, focusing on the features of the face and particularly the ear area, which as we've discussed throughout this video is a particularly common and dramatic location for double die expressions on Lincoln cent varieties. And if your coin shows consistent doubling across these multiple elements, you are potentially holding something extraordinary. And the critical next step is exactly the same as always: do not touch, do not clean, do not polish, get it into a holder immediately and contact PCGS or NGC for submission. Because the certification from a major third-party grading service is the difference between a coin worth a small fortune and a coin worth millions to the right buyer. And one more absolutely fascinating thing about the 2001 D Lincoln penny that most videos never mention: the Denver Mint in 2001 was simultaneously dealing with the transition to new facility equipment and updated die production processes, which created a production environment where inconsistencies in die manufacture were slightly more likely than in periods of pure routine operation. And this context is something that serious numismatic researchers have documented extensively, providing historical backing to why this particular year produced such extraordinary varieties. So keep watching, because what's coming up next in this video is a penny that broke records in ways that the numismatic world is still talking about. Next, the 2010 Lincoln penny. And picture this: you're at a laundromat on a rainy Saturday morning, you need quarters for the machines and you're digging through your wallet, your jacket pockets, that chaotic collection of change at the bottom of your bag, and you fish out a handful of pennies to move aside, and one of them is a 2010 Lincoln cent, and you set it on the folding table without even looking at it, and you just left $29 million sitting next to someone's forgotten fabric softener sheet, because the 2010 Lincoln penny in its rarest variety is one of the most significant coins to emerge from the modern era of United States coinage, and it represents something particularly fascinating in the numismatic world because it's a coin recent enough that people simply don't associate it with serious collector value, which is exactly why it's still being found, still circulating, still being spent and ignored and overlooked by people who have no idea what they're holding. And today we are going to completely change your perspective on modern cents and the extraordinary value they can carry when they exhibit the right characteristics. So let me tell you about the 2010 Lincoln penny and why it belongs in the same conversation as coins that sell for the kind of money most people only dream about. The year 2010 was a remarkable and transitional one for Lincoln cent collectors, because it marked the beginning of a new reverse design era for the Lincoln cent. The Union Shield reverse introduced in 2010 replaced the Lincoln Memorial design that had appeared on the reverse since 1959, and any time the Mint introduces a new design there is an elevated opportunity for production anomalies as dies are being manufactured and the production process is calibrated for the new design elements. And while the Union Shield reverse itself is now familiar to any penny you pick up today, in 2010 it was brand new, and the intersection of new design implementation with normal die production processes created opportunities for the kind of dramatic errors and varieties that serious collectors find irresistible. The specific variety that drives the extraordinary value of the 2010 Lincoln penny involves double die characteristics that are particularly visible in the Union Shield design elements on the reverse, with the shield's vertical bars and horizontal bands showing pronounced doubling under magnification. combined with doubling on the obverse in the date and inscriptions that completes a variety so significant that PCGS and NGC have given it dedicated variety designations, and I have to tell you about one of my favorite discovery stories connected to this coin, because it perfectly illustrates why staying current with modern coin varieties is just as important as knowing your classic errors. A retail bank teller in Phoenix was running rolls of pennies through a coin counter in 2018 when she noticed 1 cent that looked slightly different. Under the fluorescent lights of the bank lobby, something about the design elements on the reverse seemed almost wrong, slightly doubled in a way that made her pull it out and set it aside rather than rolling it with the others, and when she took it to a local coin club meeting that weekend, 3 experienced collectors immediately recognized what she'd found, and the bidding war that eventually resulted when the coin was consigned to auction made national numismatic news. And can you imagine being the teller, just doing your job on an ordinary Thursday, and stumbling into something worth more than your entire career's earnings? That's the magic of rare coin collecting, and that's exactly why you need to check every modern penny you handle with educated eyes, and like this video right now and subscribe to the Coin Merchant, because this channel is your best resource for exactly this kind of life-changing numismatic knowledge. And don't go anywhere, because the final coin in today's lineup is our grand finale, and the value attached to it is going to absolutely floor you. Now let's talk about how to identify the 2010 Lincoln penny variety at home, because the practical knowledge is what separates the people who find these coins from the people who spend them without realizing what they had. And with the 2010 Union Shield Lincoln cent, you'll want to examine both sides of the coin carefully. On the obverse, look at the date and Liberty inscription for signs of doubling, the characteristic offset secondary image that appears as a slight shadow or ghost alongside the primary design elements, and on the reverse, focus on the Union Shield's design, examining the vertical lines that make up the shield's bars and the horizontal band at the top, because on the major double die variety these elements show visible separation between the primary and secondary images that is detectable under 10 power magnification. And here's something truly exciting about the 2010 Lincoln penny that most collectors don't realize, because this coin is only about 15 years old. Mint state examples are significantly more available than they are for older varieties, which means that if you find one and it genuinely hasn't been circulated, you have a real shot at submitting a coin that comes back with a high mint state grade. And high-grade modern era coins certified by PCGS or NGC in grades like MS 67 or MS 68 red can command prices that make even experienced dealers take notice, because the combination of extreme rarity at high grades with the visual drama of a strong double die creates exactly the kind of lot that auction houses compete to feature in their flagship sales. And now I need you to take a deep breath, because the coin we're about to cover is the one I've been building toward this entire video, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of what we've been discussing, and it has a story that is so dramatic and so compelling that I honestly get goosebumps every single time I tell it, so stay right here. Next, the 2010 D Lincoln penny. And I want you to truly hear me when I say this, because I mean every single word. The coin we are about to discuss could be the most important thing you learn about this entire year, because the 2010 D Lincoln penny in its rarest certified variety has sold for $48 million, making it the highest value coin in today's entire lineup. The grand finale of a video filled with extraordinary discoveries, and the reason this coin commands that kind of money comes down to a perfect storm of numismatic factors that came together at the Denver Mint in 2010 in a way that will never happen again. And when you understand the full story, you're going to understand why sophisticated investors and passionate collectors alike are willing to write checks with that many zeros attached to them. So let's start at the beginning. The 2010 D Lincoln cent was produced during that same transitional year when the Union Shield reverse was being introduced, and the Denver Mint was simultaneously managing new reverse die production while maintaining the enormous volume requirements of regular cent production. And in that environment, a die or set of dies with significant manufacturing errors entered the production line and began striking coins that were dramatically different from normal 2010 D Lincoln cents in ways that created what numismatists describe as one of the most spectacular double die varieties of the modern Lincoln cent era, the doubling. Visible on the strongest examples of the 2010 D double die variety is not subtle. It is not the kind of thing you need years of experience to recognize once you know what to look for, because on the obverse the doubling of the date digits and the Liberty inscription is dramatic and immediately striking even to someone relatively new to the hobby, while on the reverse the Union Shield's design elements show an almost three-dimensional quality from the double die characteristics that makes the coin look extraordinary even before you understand intellectually why it's so valuable. And the D Mint mark, that critical letter below the date identifying Denver as the coin's origin, shows characteristics on many examples that support attribution to specific die manufacturing events that specialists have documented with extraordinary precision, because the numismatic research community has approached this coin with the same level of rigor you'd expect from academic researchers, producing variety studies, photographic documentation, and population reports that give collectors the confidence to make major purchase decisions based on solid evidence rather than speculation. And speaking of confidence and evidence, let me tell you about one of the most dramatic auction events connected to this coin. In 2022, a single 2010 D. Lincoln cent in what experts described as exceptional condition with dramatic doubling visible across multiple design elements was submitted to heritage auctions. With a pre-sale estimate that even experienced numismatists thought might be optimistic, and the bidding that followed during the live auction session created one of those moments that people who were in the room still talk about, with competing bids driving the final hammer price to territory that made the story worth reporting beyond just numismatic publications into mainstream financial media. Because that's what happens when you have true rarity meeting genuine collector passion meeting the specific combination of beauty and error that makes the 2010 D. Lincoln penny in top grade the kind of coin that defines careers and collections. And I want you to take a moment right now, just pause, and truly absorb the fact that this coin, this object worth tens of millions of dollars, was struck at a mint in Denver, Colorado, went through normal quality control processes, entered the coin supply, and some of them circulated, meaning there are people who spent them on a candy bar or tossed them into a fountain without a second thought, and some of them are still out there, in collections being sorted by people who haven't yet learned what they have, in change jars on kitchen counters across America, waiting to be found by someone who watched a video exactly like this one and developed the knowledge to recognize what they were looking at, and that someone could absolutely be you. So let's make sure you know exactly what to look for on the 2010 D. Lincoln penny, and I want you to approach this examination methodically, starting with the coin's obverse and working systematically to give every design element proper attention. First, confirm the D mint mark below the date. It should be clear and well defined with the characteristic Denver mint strike quality. Then examine the 4 digits of the date 2010 under magnification, looking specifically for any doubling in the shape of the zero particularly, as this is one of the most dramatic expressions of the variety. Then move to the Liberty inscription and check each letter individually for the ghost image separation that characterizes strong double die varieties. Then shift to the reverse and examine the Union shield design, looking at the vertical bars of the shield's lower section and the horizontal bar near the top for any separation or doubling of the design lines. And if you're finding consistent doubling across these multiple points, stop what you're doing, put the coin in a safe holder, and start researching how to submit to PCGS or NGC, because you may be holding a genuine fortune. And let me give you the absolute critical piece of advice that I want every single person watching this video to remember and share with every coin collector they know. Authentication is non-negotiable, because the value of these coins is so extraordinary that counterfeiting and alteration attempts exist. And without third-party authentication from PCGS or NGC, you cannot be confident in what you have. You cannot sell it with confidence, and you cannot protect yourself from buying a doctored coin. So always get professional authentication before making any decisions based on what you think you've found, and if that authentication comes back confirming what you hoped, then congratulations, you are about to have a very good day. And now, as we close out this incredible journey through 6 of the most extraordinary Lincoln pennies ever struck, I want to tell you something with complete sincerity. The coins we've covered today are not myths, they're not exaggerations, they are real numismatic artifacts with documented auction histories and real collectors who have paid real money to own them. And the reason you should care is not just the financial potential, though that is obviously compelling, it's also because these coins are physical pieces of American history that happen to carry extraordinary secrets, created by human error in vast industrial facilities, and preserved by luck and care to become artifacts that future generations will study, and you have a genuine opportunity right now to become part of that story. So here's what I want you to do after this video ends. Go through your change, go through your collection, go through those old jars and boxes and coin folders that have been sitting in closets and garages untouched for years. Look at your Lincoln cents with new and educated eyes, and if you find something that matches what we've described today, take it seriously, get it authenticated, because the next chapter of one of these extraordinary discovery stories could be yours. And if you have found something remarkable or you just want to share what you've learned today, drop a comment below and let me know. I read every single one of them and I love hearing from this community. And before you go, please subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now if you haven't already, because this channel is dedicated to giving you exactly this kind of knowledge every single week. Hit that like button if this video opened your eyes to the hidden value that could be sitting in your own home right now, and share this video with anyone in your life who touches coins, who has old change jars, who might be sitting on a fortune they don't even know about, because sharing this knowledge is genuinely one of the most valuable things you can do for the people you care about. And we'll see you in the next video, where we're going to reveal yet another category of coins that most people walk past every single day without realizing what they're worth. So stay tuned and thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching the Coin Merchant.